Hello, this is Dale Ray, and I'm glad to be back. I've been out for a while. Sometimes we have to get away and renew that battery to rejuvenate. And here I am again. I'm coming to you live from Houston, Texas. I want to welcome y'all to a great show today. And we're talking about why are people unhappy. I gotta say that there are so many people out there who are unhappy. I don't think it's the quality of our lives because we live much better in terms of external conditions than they did in the 1950s. But yet we are unhappy. And personally, I think that life is what we make it to be. We must learn to explore our thinking and to become aware of the internal dialogue that's going on inside our heads. And so many of us create so much drama in our own lives. And I know I did. And that's one of the reasons I stayed a crack addict for many years. But also homeless. And we must learn to change our thinking if we are to have personal growth. And we should stop having exaggerated rules and the high expectations that we put on ourselves. And it's too much, people. And sometimes we put way too much on our plates because first you'll tell yourself that you can't afford to make a mistake. But we do anyway. And then we tell ourselves we got to be first at something. And then we come in second. Then we tell ourselves that everybody in the world should like us as a person. But we all have those people who just don't like us for some reason or another. And there you go. Here we go again, creating a gap between what is and what we think it must be. And I gotta tell you, it's the perfect recipe for making ourselves miserable. You get the picture? And since being clean and sober, I've really learned to take my own inventory of who Dale Ray is. And to me, happiness is a process. And one of the key elements is learning to eliminate imperative expectations. Because there is just some things out there that we can't do well. Or some people just aren't going to like us. And my advice is to start switching to a more constructive way of thinking. And I believe that you'll start to notice less stress and enjoy a life a little more. But it's up to you to make it happen. God is good all the time. But yet there is more leisure time going on. People are more healthy today than any time in our history. We should be happy. And I also realize that people experience past negative emotions from friends and even family members and co-workers. And I'll tell you that people who have one or more close friends, they are happier. And it doesn't seem important if they don't have a large network of close relationships or not. It's how often they share their personal feelings with a friend or even a close relative. And personally, I do a lot of volunteer work. And I gotta tell you, it brings me much satisfaction. I enjoy helping someone who is struggling with issues. And I'll tell you, I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't know everything. But I tell them that together we can find solutions. And if you are passionate and deeply involved in trying to reach a goal, like we are here at Gaining Ground, and we are a non-profit organization, a 501c3, we are helping teens at risk, helping men and women who are coming out of prison, and we try to help them to get back on their feet again. Your past does not dictate your future. It's challenging, but we do make a difference in the lives of others. And it's important to us here at Gaining Ground. The people that are the happiest are those that have discovered their unique gifts and their talents, but also their strengths. And I call it persistence and critical thinking. And they use those talents for the purpose of helping others, but at the same time, it helps us to also reach our personal goals. And to my listeners out there, if you are unhappy, then think about why. Taking responsibility when things go wrong instead of blaming someone else, it's masochistic. God bless. You know, it's empowering to know that we can make up for what's wrong. You see, nobody more than me, I enjoyed smoking crack many years ago. Nobody kept me out there, though, on drugs for 20 years. Nobody made me homeless, and I did it to myself. But today I've been clean and sober for many years through the grace of God. And I focus on doing things better and wiser today. And my drug addiction taught me a lot. And I'm going to say to you, if you are around people who are for real, I'm talking about genuine folks, then you will be and feel much happier. And the only way you can have real friendship is to be a friend yourself. And stop trying to impress the Joneses out there. And if you're afraid or insecure and you're holding on to negative stuff, it's bad. I gotta say, the real happiness is out there for you. And if you really want others to like you as a person, then you got to listen to them as well. But to also focus on what they are saying. People will love you for that, man. People are always talking about what's wrong. And my thing is, why don't we talk about what's right? Let's talk about making things better for our lives, for our communities, for our friends, our family. We shouldn't always be whining about something. Friends help friends, and they help each other to make things better. That's what it's all about. And one thing I hear from people, of course, they seem to think that everybody should be at the same place in life. And it's just not true, people. And it's the easiest way to spiral into unhappiness. Because each of us has made different choices in our life. And we've arrived there at different paths. And my question is, how can you improve your lot in life? What can you learn from your past? And today, I'm so grateful that I'm not sleeping in an alley on a cardboard box. I'm so grateful I can eat healthy food today. But most important, I'm glad that God never left me. To my listeners out there, you are awesome. No, I really mean it. You really are. But you gotta smile more. And what about the things that you've persevered through? You got some things to be proud of. And what about the kindness that you've shown to others? And if you pass by someone sleeping on the streets, I just want to encourage you to give them a couple of dollars or something. Buy them a cup of coffee. This is real charity work. And in case you don't know, the heart is a muscle, and it's got to be exercised. And when you give on the outside, you also give to your heart. You can't help but feel good. And I believe that all of us want happiness. And sometimes I choose a fixed time in my life to set aside for thinking about my blessings. And most of those times for me is like at 3:30 or 4 in the morning when it's so quiet. And the next day I can go out and speak to those I've helped and tell them that I'm so grateful they are in my life. And I thank them for letting me be a part of theirs. We can all help to promote sustainable happiness by helping someone else, helping them to transcend set points and setbacks that they face. I encourage you, my listeners, to help someone else live that rewarding life. And I promise you'll experience a level of happiness that you've never felt before. I know this because I'm feeling it right now as I help people in my life. And sometimes unhappiness comes when we don't trust our own judgment or our own opinions. And we value other people's opinions more than our own. Why? You see, the more time we spend with ourselves, the less we'll need input from others. We got to learn to trust ourselves to solve problems. Then we become much more stronger, more confident as a person. And we can also learn to take on challenges that we thought were impossible before. This feeling also brings you happiness. And sometimes I could be in a dark room and I close my eyes. And within a few minutes, I begin to appreciate the silence. And as you and I know, this world is such a busy place. And unless we take a few moments to step away from it, and then it's easy to forget how good it feels to sit alone and really enjoy our own company. I'm encouraging you to try it. Just see what I'm talking about. We all have an inner being that talks to us from time to time. And the reason that I know this because when I was out there on a crack mission, I can really hear a voice telling me over and over again that if I didn't stop doing what I was doing, I would die a horrible death. And let me tell you right now that it wasn't the drugs talking to me either. And then I began to talk back to that voice and say, no way, I don't think so, because I started getting up and going to meetings. And the positive inner voice began to say, you can do it, Dale Ray. You can do it. You must do it if you want to live. And I gotta say, it has shaped who I am today by listening to my gut instinct. And so I want to also say to you, my listener, learn to distance yourself from negative friends who only want to bring you down. And also it's important that you distance yourself from the negative voices, the inner voices that's telling you that you're not going to make it. It's easy to fall into a pattern. It's also easy to stagnate because when we are alone, things rarely change unless we speak to ourselves, unless we learn to motivate ourselves. And like I said, when I slept in a dark alley in San Francisco, it was bad out there. And when you can be, if you can be anything you want to be, if you choose to be, because when you're alone, you have a great opportunity to think clearly where your life is going and which direction it's headed. This is the time to speak to that inner being, to affirm you are on the positive path or not. And to me, life is more like a piece of artwork. And the only one stopping you from creating that art is you. And now all excuses are gone. They're gone. I've truly learned to get lost in myself. And this piece of artwork that I'm creating, I guess you can also call it a legacy. My life is so meaningful today. And it makes me feel good about how far I've come. And it seemed like only yesterday that I was in that alley. I got to tell you that the secret to finding happiness lies within you. We have to learn to appreciate our uniqueness as a human being and think about some of the compliments people give you and how much they admire you as a true friend. You see, confidence is the key to your happiness. But also, if you can't recognize where there's room for growth, then you won't see the real you. And personally, I had a hard time accepting constructive criticism. And by being stubborn, it kept me down. It kept me out there on drugs for many years. But once I started to get clean and sober, I started having a teachable spirit. I started to work on certain aspects of my life, mainly my listening skills. And I gotta say, I'm still a work in progress, but God is not through with me yet. I am a work in progress. Let's face it, people. We've all done or said some things that we're not proud of. We've said some hurtful things to somebody that we love. But whatever it was, we should recognize it and that it was wrong. And also understand why we said what we said. But after that, then it's time to move on. Because when we get caught up on past mistakes, how can we move on? It's impossible to focus on happiness. It's also impossible to focus on our future. And if we can take time to laugh and no matter what cloud hangs over us, no matter how dire our situation may be, that it may seem at a given moment, we can make it through. And another thing, unless we're living in a cave or something, it's pretty hard to go a few hours without looking in the mirror at ourselves. And I gotta tell you, I believe that you'll be much happier if you like what you see.